What's up, everyone, and welcome to Arousal Football. Today we're going to be talking about Jack Wilshere, one of the most talented midfielders of his generation. Wilshere was highly regarded throughout his career, being praised for his passing, his dribbling, his vision, generally just his overall ball control. He had all the tools to make himself a world-class player. But at the age of 30, he's now hung up his boots and is the coach of Arsenal's U18 squad. It doesn't seem that long ago that Jack Wilshere was tearing up midfields around Europe, scoring his first goal for Arsenal and being tipped to become the next England captain. But with most players, with a lot of players playing well into their 30s these days, why did Jack Wilshere hang it up so early? In Three Strike Soccer today, that's what we're going to go over. I remember when Jack Wilshere burst onto the scene as a 16-year-old for Arsenal. I was at my sister's house and I just saw this kid tearing it up. It was unbelievable. He was putting his body on the line for every loose ball out there. He was picking out the perfect pass. He would go up against any defender. It was an incredible sight to see. This was a kid who was regularly being compared to Xavi, Iniesta, all of the great Spanish midfielders. Actually, Bastian Schweinsteiger said that he was one of the best players in his position, and Marco Reus even called him the perfect player and the future of English football. Wilshere was only 19 when he essentially tore apart Barcelona's legendary midfield of Iniesta, Xavi, and Busquets. This was the same midfield, the same season that Barcelona team went on to win the historic treble, winning La Liga, the Supercopa, and Champions League. They had Messi, they had David Villa, they had obviously Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi, they had Puyol at the back, they had Javier Mascherano. It was a stacked team. In fact, here in Barcelona, that team is still spoken about in reverenced and hushed tones. It's difficult for certain to say why any particular player's career unfolds the way it does. But it's definitely true that Wilshere faced a number of challenges and injuries throughout his career. But he also just made his professional debut at a very young age, 16 for Arsenal. And at that time, Arsenal was one of the top teams in Europe. So bursting onto the squad at the age of 16, on one hand, that can be a great opportunity. But it can also, on the other hand, be a bit of a challenge to deal with the pressure and everything that comes with playing with such an incredible team at the age of 16. There's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of pressure that goes with that. And sometimes for people at that young of an age, it's just really, really hard to deal with. Personally, I don't think that England knows how to manage specifically teenage youth that are already playing at a higher level than people their age. There's a couple names that we've probably never heard of. Jose Baxter, we've heard of Micah Richards, we also know John Bostock, but those are just a couple of names that never really made it to the heights that they were supposed to make it to. But if you contrast that, for example, in other countries, you have Erling Haaland, who was taken care of in Germany and Austria. You have Messi, who obviously is a product of the La Masia here in Barcelona. You have Mbappe in France. You even have, if you want to, keep looking at English players, you have Jude Bellingham, who's made his name in Germany as well. And that's not to say that, these teenage sensations can't make it in England. For example, Bukayo Saka made his Arsenal debut at the age of 17 and has gone on to become England's Player of the Year. You obviously have Jack Grealish and Phil Foden. So there are those, exceptions, but I believe that those are just that, more exceptions in England than the rule. So strike number 2. We're going to just call this one temper and off-field controversies. So Wilshere is known for having a bit of a short temper. He can switch from calm and collected to fiery in the blink of an eye, often resulting in heated conversations with teammates or referees. His outbursts have been well documented, with commenters and pundits noting occasionally that he struggles to control his emotions. Despite this, he he's still was one of the top English players in his position. There was actually a really well documented controversy, off-field controversy in 2018, where Wilshere was arrested outside of a London nightclub. He's also been fined by the FA for smoking cigarettes in public a number of times, which has also angered his then coach Arsene Wenger. And look, it's fine to have some tenacity, you know, but there is a bit of a fine line between tenacity and temper, and sometimes he doesn't really know how to walk that line. He's actually admitted in the past that, you know, when he was younger, he did need to be able to learn to control his emotions and reel that in a bit, because in the U16 squads, he was kind of constantly getting red carded and would just watch his team kind of fail and flounder without him. So strike two, temper and some off-field controversies. Actually, before we wrap that one up, there's a really great story that Wojciech Szczesny said. They were good friends at Arsenal, and Szczesny invited Wilshere to his wedding. And during the wedding, sometime during the wedding, they just had no idea where Wilshere was. He got super drunk, disappeared. They looked for him for a couple of hours. After 2 hours, they found him just drunk and passed out asleep in a bush. So it's just a couple of little, you know, off-field controversies that may have contributed a bit to his downfall. And the third strike, which most of you will be, which most of you kind of know already about Jack Wilshere, injuries. So I think it's clear that was the biggest strike against him. He missed over 200 games. To my count is 214 games that he missed due to injury in 10 years in England. And they were, you know, everywhere on his body. So what we're going to do is just go through this real quickly, well, as quick as we can, go through this long list of injuries that kept him out for over 200 games. And it starts way back in 2009, 2010. So buckle up. So 2009-2010, ankle injury, keeping him out for 4 games. 11-12, sprained ankle, keeping him out for 10 games. Same season, ankle surgery, later on, keeping him out for 25 games. Same season again, 2011-2012, he had a fatigue fracture, which kept him out for 19 games. And then later on in that season, he had a knee surgery that kept him out for 6 games. The next season, 2012-2013, he had ankle surgery, keeping him out for 4 games. The next season, 2013-14, he sprained his ankle, keeping him out for 2 games. Later on in that season, he had a hairline crack in his foot that kept him out for 11 games. That was it for that season. Moving on to 14-15, he had an ankle injury, keeping him out for 19 games. Later on in that season, another ankle injury just a few months later, keeping him out for 7 games. And the big one, 2015-2016, hairline crack in his calf bone, keeping him out for 47 games. That's 247 days. That's an entire season. Moving on, 2016-2017, he picked up a hairline crack in his calf bone again, and that kept him out for a game. 2018-2019, he had an 11-game injury miss through another ankle injury. Same season, ankle surgery, which kept him out for 22 games. 2019-2020, a groin injury keeping him out for 22 games. Lastly, in 2020-21, he had a calf injury keeping him out for 4 games. That's quite the list over 10 years of soccer. So that being said, Wilshere in 10 years in England played less than 300 games, which is wild because he missed over 200 due to injury. He was fearless. He fought for every ball. He didn't really care about the consequences that would happen. And that made him a great player, but also this contributed to the amount of injuries that he had, which eventually contributed to his downfall. It was, after all, Jack Wilshere's coach, Arsene Wenger, that said, in order to be an elite athlete, a great athlete, one of the best, you have to be able to remain fit. And this just wasn't the case for Jack Wilshere, unfortunately. Kind of sad to see all of these things contributing to his downfall, but they say the best of Jack is still yet to come because he's doing an incredible job as Arsenal's U18s coach. So here's to him being an even better coach than he was a player and fulfilling his potential. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you have a great day.